Hey, what's up, guys? Heading up to PJ's to shoot today's show, and we're going to talk a lot about Derek Carr, and I think we're going to be talking a lot about Derek Carr over the next several weeks, several months, until there's something definitive within this situation that tells us whether or not he's playing in 2025 or not. This is the Dot presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car, go check out Matt, one of his dealerships. He's got the new pre-owned joint up on Veterans right downstairs from us. Buy a car like this one and get on the road. You'll be happy. He'll get you good prices, all that stuff. So anyways, yeah, Derek Carr. I think the future right now is a little bit uncertain. I mean, I think the thing is that it's a might need surgery. Surgery is an option. I think it's a definite possibility, but it also means option. And until that option's totally settled, it remains up in the air. And I think there's a couple ways to go about this. I think there's a couple ways to look at it. And the first one, obviously, is that this feels like another chapter in an offseason with a lot of chapters. And normally you kind of just want silence when it comes to yourself and a player. That means there's no discord, everything's harmonious, everything's working the way it's supposed to be. And it has been an offseason with a lot of waves around this situation. And whether they add up to something nefarious or not, it doesn't really matter, because for all of us on the outside looking in, it looks and feels a certain type of way, and it doesn't feel good when you look at it. You just don't like how it's kind of gone so far. And definitely the contract situation is something that felt tenuous. It felt difficult, and I think that's just exactly what it was. I think it was difficult. I think it was a situation where there was a lot of pushing and pulling, but not a lot of pushing and pulling together within it. And Derek was open to being traded and or released. I think they were willing to do things to make that happen. And the Saints had their quarterback under contract. They didn't want to look for a new quarterback, and they wanted to keep the guy that they've been paying. And, I don't think either side is necessarily totally wrong there. But if a player's under contract and you want him to stay, I mean, it kind of is what it is. And, I think at this point, to me, it feels like a good time for a fresh start for everybody. And I think a fresh start would be good for everybody. I think Derek could go somewhere that's built out and he could be happy with it and hit the ground and go do what he does. And I think, even before the restructure and everything, my preference was for them to start and go young and just kind of start over. It just feels like it's time to start over. And I understand the logic and the merit behind continuing to go for it. I think if everything works out and you have everybody healthy, maybe you do have a chance to win this bad division. But I'm just ready for something that feels like it's building toward something else. And those are always words that you regret. I remember there was a large subsection of the fan base at one point that was ready to move on for Drew Brees. I'm ready for something new, the air yards, all that stuff. And then Drew Brees goes, and here we are. And, you learn from that. There's a lot of people, myself included, that was looking for them to get an established quarterback to insert onto this roster after Drew retired. And it felt like the team would have been good enough to hit the ground and go. And that hasn't worked out either. So everybody's always wrong about what to do with the quarterback, and this could very easily be one of those things 5 years from now. You look up and say, hey, I wish the team had the 18th best quarterback to take advantage of this really good receiver they drafted and these offensive linemen and the running back and all that stuff. But right now, as we sit today, it doesn't feel like that's here, and it just kind of feels like it's time to kind of move it and start over. And this hasn't worked out at all how I think anybody pictured it going. I don't think this is how Derek pictured it going. I don't think it's how the Saints pictured it going. And now he has the shoulder situation, and he's gonna have to take care of that and see where it goes from here. But just outside of that, just the larger scope, it just feels like a good time for a restart. Like, you got the new head coach, you got all these pieces that feel like new chapter, and there's still some stuff that feels like old chapter. And I'm just ready for it to all feel like it's on the same page. And honestly, I don't see the super downside here. to be truthful, unless you think that this is a team that can win the Super Bowl this year, and I don't think it's a team that's ready to compete right now. And the upside obviously is that you win some games, your head coach establishes his culture, you keep building the team, and then you keep looking for the quarterback, and you go that way. And there's times that works. I've written this a bunch of times. We're all going to have really, really strong opinions about how to find the next quarterback, whether that's now or a year from now. And no one's going to be right, because nobody's ever right. There's no blueprint on the right way to do that. And people are going to get real mad and real loud and be screaming and tweeting up storms and all that stuff, but there's no right way to do it. There's just the way that works. Whatever works for you, Everybody would have said Jared Goff was absolutely the wrong decision for the Lions, and it was the right decision. It's just the way it goes sometimes. That sometimes, the unexpected is the thing that hits, and the expected is the thing that doesn't hit. And there's a lot of expected draft picks who haven't hit. So anyways, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and that would have been the upside. You just do it, and you try to figure it out, and you build your culture, and you have a good team, and you keep trying to win, and you figure it out as you go. And I could see a path where that works, but for me, the path that I would like to see is just starting over. If you take Derek out of this roster, and there's two paths. You can draft a quarterback, and maybe that quarterback hits, maybe he doesn't. You can go that path. Or you could play Spencer Rattler and try to get a vet, have him compete, see who wins, put him in there. If it's Rattler, then you put Rattler in, then there's two paths. Either he's really good or he's not, and you have a really good pick next year. And if that's where you exist, that's where you exist. And I'll be truthful. I'd rather win 7 games with the guy that costs nothing and still have to be looking than win 7 games with the guy that costs $40 million and still have to be looking. And unfortunately, you're still paying Derek either way, but it just feels like time to kind of roll over to the next page and start doing something else. And we'll see how it goes. I think all options are open. I still don't think a lot of the names that everybody's talking about the loudest at quarterback are the ones, but obviously it's a draft and people are wrong all the time. I've been wrong on who they're going to pick before, so maybe I've been misled on, just the information I've gathered on those, but I don't see that at this point, but we'll see where it goes from here. But we're gonna have a lot to say about this stuff on our show today, and we're gonna keep breaking it down, and we're gonna keep talking about it. So join us on that, watch it. It'll be out on YouTube tonight about 7 o'clock, and we'll talk to you then.